Hello, Amy. I'm excited that you are here with us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be here too.
Yes. Okay. Amy became our patient, I think, over the summer of last
Yes.
year, right? Okay,
Yes. I
cool.
think my first day was June 2nd.
Okay, cool. Oh, you have it all
I
memorized. I love
do.
it. Okay, so tell us a little bit just about you in general. Like, what do you do for work? Where do you live? Things like that.
All right. So I am a mother of two older children. My daughter is a sophomore in college. My son is a sophomore in high school. I live in New Hampshire, which is the last place on earth I ever thought I would live, but I've been here for 25 years. So I guess it's home now.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I was an elementary school teacher for over 20 years. And then about 3 years ago, made the switch. I work in higher education now, still working with in education, but with students who are becoming teachers.
I love that. So you're still in the teaching. Why do you say New Hampshire was not the place you planned?
I hate the cold. I hate winter. But it just kind of happened when I was applying to graduate schools. I was just up for an adventure, and I had never been to New England before. Got a full scholarship at University of New Hampshire, so I was like, okay, why not? I can go spend 2 years in this place and cross it off my
2 years.
list. And then I met my husband, who's from New Hampshire, so I've been here since 1997.
Love that you had a plan for like, I'll be here for 2 years.
Yes, and then peace out. But here I am.
I love that. And how do you feel like just with parenting? Do you have any just like wise wisdom for parents? Because your kids are older. So any a quick tip?
I would love to give parenting advice. I will say this, my husband and I joke that we have the greatest kids and neither one of us, we don't know where they came from because we are both really
100.
sarcastic, have an edge to us. But I think that maybe that's why our kids are who they are, just
I love that. No.
no, I really think we just tried to keep everything in perspective, choose our battles wisely.
Yeah.
That way when we say no, it means something.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's been our biggest success.
I feel that. I feel like that's what I do too. But same thing. Like it's pretty crazy. They're like, "What'd you do?" And I'm like, honestly, they just came out the
I
womb
know.
really good. So I don't know.
I think a big part of it too is I grew up in a good Catholic family where no one ever talked about anything. And I kind of made it my mission to have the complete opposite experience as far as talking to my kids. So I talk to my kids about everything, and it just has very naturally progressed to this like mutually respectful relationship. So putting things on the
Okay.
table.
That must be what it is, because that's what I do too. My mom was pretty open, but my dad, he's from the Philippines, so very quiet. I think that's just a cultural thing, but I was pretty adamant about like, I mean, everything from I want to have the sex talk sooner than you think you have to, but I want him to like hear it from me first or whatever.
Yes.
And so I feel like I've honestly, even when they were like little, like just also not trying to make our bodies normal and like, him like Isaiah getting me something while I'm in the shower. And it's something that's so natural and normal. So
Yes.
I've always wanted to be open in like every single regard. And I will attest to so far it's been amazing. It's
Yes.
been an amazing relationship. And honestly, like obviously he's just starting his teenage years, my oldest, but being 13, incredible. Like I'm like, what are people talking about? This is so amazing. And I do think it's because there's such a foundation of like
Yeah,
growing and being open. So I think that's the
absolutely.
answer, you guys.
Yes. All right.
Love it. Okay, so tell us about like your health journey because you had a lot going on when I had the discovery call with you. I mean, it was a little bit of everything from like hormones, weight, just in general.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
what was happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I didn't know for a really long time. I was a really active person. I felt like I ate pretty healthy, really was mindful about the way that I took care of my body. And it was during the 2020, school year. I was still an elementary school teacher teaching through a pandemic. I just had this perfect storm of going through menopause, being on an antidepressant because the world felt heavy and scary,
Yeah.
and teaching through a pandemic with a really toxic principal. And just within a year, I put on probably somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds. I was tired all the time, all of the things that I think go along with gaining 20 to 30 pounds,
Yeah.
feeling really depressed, not recognizing the person in the mirror, not getting joy out of the things that I used to do because they were so much harder with that extra weight. I had hair loss. hot flashes, all of the things
The
that go along
menopause.
with
Yep.
menopause on top of everything else. I just got to this place where I just felt physically, I think, rock bottom.
Yeah. 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 And you were eating pretty well, I think I remember. And then also, like you said, you were pretty active. So you were even not active in the sense of like, I just go running, or I mean, you'd be surprised how many people think that they're active and they're just
Right.
like, I do this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's active in a sense. But you were
Yes.
truly like active, like strength training, did CrossFit a little bit,
Yeah.
and all that. So I mean, you were doing a lot of the like things that we should be doing.
Right. Right. No, I mean, I became more active, I would say, like in my late 30s, early 40s. I picked up running. I ran 2 marathons. There are 48 mountains in New Hampshire that are taller than 4,000 feet. I
Oh my
hiked all
gosh.
of them. I was CrossFitting for a while. So,
Wow.
I was truly
Yeah.
active.
Yeah. No, you were definitely truly active. And then what did you try diet wise? Like everything that you've tried before.
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? I literally tried everything. So I printed out, I have this document I created when I went in to talk to my doctor about this, and I just printed it out because sometimes I forget all of the things that I tried. So from a diet perspective, I tried intermittent fasting. I tried counting calories, decreasing my calories down as low as like 12 to 1400. I tried increasing my calories. I started working out with a personal trainer twice a week. I quit my job, which I know is not a diet change, but I mean, I really made lifestyle changes. I was like, this is too much stress.
Yep.
So I quit my job. I stopped CrossFitting and moved to more, walking and riding the Peloton, things that were going to be gentler on my body. I did a group plan on like, how to eat for blood sugar balancing, finding my individual carb threshold. I think it was really what it was about. I basically stopped drinking, not completely, but I cut out most alcohol. I stopped going out to restaurants. I really limited sugar, added sugar in my diet, and absolutely nothing happened.
That's a lot.
It is, I mean, it was over a 3-year period. So, it wasn't
That's a
just like I
lot.
would try something for a couple of weeks and like,
Yeah.
the internet is a great place, but also a terrible place. And there's so much information, which is why I was like, okay, I'm eating too many calories. And it's like, okay, well, that wasn't it. So the internet also tells me that maybe I'm eating not enough calories. So let me try that. I also tried
Yeah.
counting macros, which is
Yeah.
another thing. Oh,
Yeah.
and whole 30. I tried the
Oh,
whole
yep.
30.
Yeah. That's
Um,
that's a good one.
yes.
Yes, I too. Yeah, you have these calculators, which I definitely think there's always a time and a place for like macros and just understanding like how much you're eating and making sure you're like filling your body. But they give you these calculators, and then they take your age and activity level and blah blah and give you those numbers. So yes, anyone can do it. Like just Google a calculator. But what it doesn't take into account is all the other things that are going on
Right.
inside the body, like your hormonal changes, which you were going through a pretty like menopause is definitely, yeah, I would say the biggest hormonal change that we will see in our life as women. And that also means that, something that may have worked before, even though you have tried a lot.
Yes.
But when you were younger, so even before these 3 years where you were trying everything, how do you feel like your health was though? Like, did you do things and it did work? So you were just
Oh,
able to kind of handle it?
absolutely. I was,
Okay.
I remember when I was getting married, my mom weighed less than I did. So I was like, that is not going to happen. So I did Weight Watchers.
Okay.
I feel like most people my age have done Weight Watchers at some point. I was
100%.
very successful with that.
Okay.
A few years, I say probably like maybe around, I think 2015, I did my first Whole 30. And it was like life changing. Like I lost a ton of weight. I felt great. So, all of these
Amazing.
things that I have had done in the past and really had success with just weren't working anymore.
Oh, I love that you brought that up because it's so again, it's like your body is changing. So that's why what worked for you in your 20s and your 30s may not work for you, you know, when you're older. Sometimes it does, but a lot of the times it doesn't. So I love that you had that experience and connected those dots for sure. And tell us about like your labs that you did with your doctor before. I don't think you did any functional stuff, but like I remember
No.
you testing like serum cortisol, some thyroid stuff because of a
Yes.
nodule. So like what were some of your labs like coming back? Did they ever come back with anything?
So I had a really wonderful primary care doctor who I had been with for a really long time, who really was open to working with me. She was like, because she knew me, right? She knew that
Yeah.
I had been a really active person and that I really took care of my health. And so we had gotten to the point where she was like, I'm willing to, test your thyroid. Tested my thyroid. Everything was like so normal, like not
Okay.
even borderline. There was one year at my physical, she found a nodule on my thyroid, and I was like, yes, like I
I
couldn't
found
believe it. I was
something.
like psyched, right? But it was completely benign and it never impacted my thyroid function. And so my thyroid, it gets monitored pretty regularly, and that's fine.
Okay.
I was really pushing, like, please send me to an endocrinologist. And she just was like, I don't think we're there yet. But she was really open to working with me. And then, I think that the medical profession was very similar to the education profession during the pandemic. And she left. She just, after trying to be a doctor through that pandemic, she just decided that it was not for her. So, I get passed on to someone else who doesn't know me. And then I present as this menopausal woman who's overweight. And I don't think she took me seriously. Because
Mm,
I'm sure there are a lot of people who are just looking for like an easy explanation, right? No, no, it can't be my diet. It can't be
right.
something I'm doing. Um, and she just didn't know that that wasn't me. So I basically was like starting over from square one. This is a really long answer to your question,
No,
but
I love it.
it took a lot of, I would say I went beyond advocating and really just like got kind of pushy. Side note, she's still my doctor because I can't find anyone else. And I finally am getting through to her, after all this
Yes.
work that I've put in on my own.
Ooh.
So I eventually was able to get this new doctor. She tested cortisol, she retested thyroid, she tested vitamin D, she tested magnesium. Um, all of the things that in my internet sleuthing I've read, could be the culprit for some of these things, especially in postmenopausal women. Um, and everything was coming back normal. She would not test my fasting insulin, and I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and she finally
Isn't
did,
that wild?
and it was fine. So then I was like, all right, so how about my A1C? And she did not want to do it. She very begrudgingly did it. And my A1C came back at like 6.0. So then she was finally
Mm.
like, oh, I would not have expected that. I'm like, well, duh, like I wouldn't have either. So that was like the first time where I think finally she was like, okay, maybe something's out of whack. But I mean, I have to say that it took at least a year and a half to wear her down to order these tests for me, which I never really understood. Like, I am trying to just get information about my body. Like,
I know. I
how
know.
does,
I'm pretty sure it's insurance based. I'm almost positive because it has to be because to me I'm like, why? They're not paying, like the doctor isn't paying for it. Like they may give like we may even give a recommendation if someone's like, I really want to do this test. And I'll be like, maybe not right now, do something first or whatever, prioritize like where your budget is or whatnot. Just to make sure that we're starting from the foundation and working our way up. But for me, I'm just like, I'm not paying for it. So ultimately, if you really want to do this, then I will order it for you. It's fine.
right, right,
But I think it's an insurance thing of where they have to prove that you need it. But again, they're like, even if it's not covered by insurance, they're not paying for it. So like,
right.
why does it matter? I honestly have no idea. I there was one nurse that told me, especially with insulin, she didn't even realize that she could order it. So I feel like there's also some things that they don't realize that they can order.
Yes,
But honestly, I don't know. It's like a deep, I don't know. I don't know why. Like you can't just be like, hey, I'm just curious about this, this, and this. And like, okay, cool. We'll run it through. You might get a bill from, the lab if the insurance doesn't cover it. Great. Like, I don't know why that's not
right.
common.
It's very frustrating.
It's weird. It's so
Yes.
weird. So I love that. And then I know we did the CGM too. So what did you, when we were working together, what was your any big revelations from doing it?
I think that I was talking to my husband about this. I think that every human on the planet should wear a CGM for at least 2 weeks
Yeah.
because it was really interesting. So I did it twice. I had two of them for 2 weeks, and the first time I was doing it, I was like on I got stuck on week 3 of the gut protocol for a really long time because of stool results, which I don't know if we'll talk
Yes.
about that. So the first 2 weeks of my CGM, I was on week 3 of the gut protocol. So as
Mm,
I expected, um, my blood sugar never went out of range because
it's
I
good.
just
Yeah.
was not eating anything. It did go low when I was sleeping, which was really insightful because I'm a terrible sleeper. So
Mm,
that was really interesting information. The second time that I wore the CGM, my diet was closer to normal. I had incorporated a lot more things. But I just thought it was really, really great.
yeah.
I mean, to this point, it's been 6 months since I started working with you. I've had ice cream once and half of a cookie at Thanksgiving. Like, I'm just really not
Nice.
interested. I have no interest in it. Like, I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm depriving myself anymore. Um, so I don't, it was just really nice to see that the things I was doing were working for my body.
Yeah.
I kind of want to wear one all the time. I'm not going to lie. I mean, especially now that there are so many things that are incorporated back into my diet, I'm just so curious. I'm kind of like a data nerd, so I just
Yes.
loved being able to see that.
Yes, we actually have a lot of people that like want to do it on the regular basis. Again,
Yes.
like it's definitely something you can do. Definitely doesn't hurt and stuff. Um, the only time is if anyone's too anxious about it, like if it just like kind of throws them into like a bad spiral, then we try to limit it. But other than that, like yeah, you definitely can. Like why not?
Right.
I know you mentioned that you aren't interested in like the sweets. Did you always feel that way? Were you starting off, were you ever scared of like missing out on things?
This is so interesting. Like, I am just not a big foodie. I mean, I enjoy eating, but some people just like live for like a delicious meal and going out to restaurants. Like, I have foods that I like, but I'm not a huge foodie.
Okay.
So I really was never worried about missing anything.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think
Yes.
that I'm pretty unique in that. I think a lot of people I've talked to so many people in my life who are like, "Oh my gosh, you look great. Like, what did you do?" And I tell them, and they're like, "Oh no, no big
Yes,
deal.
for sure.
I could never live without X, Y, or Z."
Coffee's a
Um,
big one.
yeah, and I've just never been that person. I mean, I've done a Whole30, I think like 3 or 4 times, and like, I mean, it's not the greatest, but I've just never really felt once you get over that, like, your body detoxing hump, like, psychologically, I've never been like stressed out because I feel like I can't have something, which I know it makes
Nice.
me like a unicorn. Most
A
people are
little
not
bit.
like
Yeah,
that.
I would say it definitely makes you a little bit of a unicorn. Because yes, there's usually like coffee or something that they're very attached to for good reason. It's either like super delicious or, just I understand. But they swear of like, I can't do it. But I'm like, if in the most dramatic situation, if you had like a gun to your head, you obviously would. Like they say,
Yes,
you can never drink coffee again. You would absolutely say, like, absolutely.
right.
So there is like extreme circumstances where people could. But I think too, people have to wait until this kind of sucks, but they have to wait until their health is bad enough to make like the
Yes,
discomfort
100%.
more powerful than the
Yes,
comfort of coffee or whatever.
yes,
But I do see that change though. People, that's why I ask, because there are some people that are so scared and then they feel better. And then like they're always like, wow, I actually don't care. Like, I don't care if I have coffee. I don't care if I have something sugary.
yes.
And I'm like, dude, before you were like telling me how scared you were and that like you weren't going to be able to do it. And now look at you. You're like, I don't
I
care.
know. I mean, I will say, like, I would do mindless eating. I would eat dessert because like it was there and it was the end of the meal.
Yeah.
So I feel like honestly, if there was a plate of brownies in front of me, of course I would eat them because they're delicious and they smell good, right? But
Yeah.
now I could probably have a plate of brownies right next to me all day and I just would not want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I do love me some brownies.
I know, right?
It's, those
Brown
are so good. And so yeah, actually going to your gut. So you had some gut symptoms, but there was nothing. I remember I was like, okay, there's nothing that's like red flashing alarm. So what were
right.
some of your symptoms before working together?
So as far as like my gut symptoms,
Hmm.
so I would get these like just random stomach aches, sometimes in the middle of the night, where just I would wake up and my stomach wouldn't feel good. with like no explanation. It would just kind of like come and go. It was like never debilitating. I'd be able to get back to sleep, but I would just be like, meh, that's weird. I have a stomach ache.
Yeah.
And like not able to trace it back to anything. I definitely would have like the urgency to poop, like which you know, my friends would, it was a joking subject, right? Like when I had to go to the bathroom, there was no like lead time. It was like, okay, I have to go like right now. So I had a colonoscopy because, you know, my doctor said, oh, that's not normal. And then the GI doctor was like, oh, well, actually it is normal when you've gone through menopause. My son was born, pulled out with a vacuum or
Mm.
and she said that vaginal births can cause trauma that doesn't show up for years and years to that area, which
Wow.
can make it harder to hold it in if you have to go to the bathroom. But you know, every doctor
Wow.
has an answer for everything. I mean, I would assume that's true. I don't think she was making it up. But you know, the colonoscopy was fine. She said menopause and hormonal changes as well as the vaginal delivery explained a lot of that. So like that was that. I
Yeah.
just thought it
Yeah.
was something I had to live with.
Yes, for sure. And that's why I was like, I don't know, I still, because some of them I'm like, that's not normal, even though it's not like red alarming. What do you feel like from your stool test was like your biggest like surprise or aha or anything like that?
Definitely the parasite, the fact that I had
Yeah.
a parasite was like the biggest one. You know, a lot of the other stuff, and not that anything is normal, right? But like you said, there were really like minor tweaks, little changes that I needed to make. I was missing some of the good gut bacteria, but it wasn't anything that was like, you're a disaster, other than
Yeah.
having the parasite, which
Yeah.
is so gross to think about. At least it wasn't a worm parasite, right?
Yes. I always say that when I make the
Yes.
videos because I'm like, I think that makes it a little bit better because I think people imagine this like long worm coming
I know.
out.
Well, and I've seen the TikTok videos. Trust me, I've seen them, and I was like, oh no, please not that.
Yeah. And one other thing too on your stool test, which is one of the reasons I love doing it, even though parasites are actually pretty difficult to pick up because they don't drop with every stool dropping. So that's why sometimes someone can have it, but it doesn't show up. But one of the other markers that I love that you can only really get from a stool test, you don't have any symptoms per se of it, is SIGA. So your immune system
Yes.
was lower. And so in this like day and age, especially with TikTok and Instagram, parasite cleanses are all the rage right now of just like everyone should be doing a parasite cleanse. When actually research is so interesting and I'm excited to see like decades in the future of like how kind of like how we learn about gut bacteria, like there's good and bad. And there's research that shows that some parasites, not the one you had, but some parasites are actually really beneficial and actually protect against chronic illness, which is so interesting. And so I'm excited to see that. But
Yes.
anyways, with all the parasite cleanses and pushes right now, something that you kind of have to do before you do that if immune system is low is supporting your immune system
Right.
because that is your little army that should ideally tag a pathogen like a parasite and say you're not supposed to be here, let's go get you and like let's get you out. And so if your immune system's low, that doesn't happen. And so we want to make sure that we're getting to the root because we're always exposed to things, bacteria and parasites, and just eating food and there's bugs on our hand, obviously we can't see them.
Right. Right.
And so we're always exposed. So we just got to make sure that is thriving. And so I know yours was low, which was
Yes.
another like piece of the puzzle as well. So I love that. And so yes, you were one of the ones that went through the gut protocol. What do you
Yes.
feel like was the hardest part? Not every patient, by the way, everyone does not have to go through this. It just depends on the patient. But
Okay.
what was the hardest thing? And then the best thing?
I'm sure my hardest thing is everyone's hardest thing, and that's week one.
Yeah.
Having to eat basically soup
Yeah.
for an entire week. So yeah, that was the hardest. And I would say, so I think I started June 2nd and my son's birthday is June 7th. And we had our extended family over for a little birthday party and everyone else is having pizza and ice cream and cake and I'm having soup.
You're in the thick of it.
Yeah, so that was really hard. Another thing that was really hard for me during the gut protocol, especially in the first couple of weeks, was maybe just the first week, only drinking just plain water.
Yeah.
That was like unbelievably hard. Like I don't know why that was so hard, but I think that might have even been harder than the soup, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just not, I mean, I drink water a lot, but I would usually put like a little half a noon tablet or, something in
Yes.
it to make it like a little jazzier. Now it's
Yes.
elements because Madison turned me on to that. But
Yes.
so that was really hard. Other than that, it really wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got stuck on week 3 for a really long time because of my stool test. So I think I was on week 3 for like 7 weeks or something like that, like a really ridiculously long period
Yeah.
of time. So it honestly, I still mostly eat like I'm in week 3. I think because I just did that for so long,
Yeah.
and I felt good. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know, what was the one thing you were excited to reintroduce? And this is like like at the very end, or honestly also in the thick of it. Like, what was the one thing you were the most excited about?
this is funny. So I was super, super excited to reintroduce peanut butter and cheese. Only
Yes.
right before I was going to reintroduce peanut butter, I read some article about how like peanuts are one of the grossest things with all the mold on them, and like
Mm.
you really shouldn't eat peanut butter. So that like really took the wind out of my sails. So I was like, "Ugh, all right, fine. I'll stick with almond butter." And then I was super excited to have cheese. And the first time I had it, I was like, I don't think I like this anymore.
Wow.
I know, it was really, really strange.
Whoa. Usually
So
people definitely like are excited about cheese. And then, yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of someone saying like, oh, it's actually like not meh.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't
Wow.
bad, but like, I remember talking to Madison over and over again, like, okay, like burgers are great, but I just like, there's nothing like a cheeseburger, right? Like
Yeah.
there really isn't. So put that
Favorite
slice of
food.
cheese on and I was like, eh,
Wow.
I know, right?
I
It
see
was,
these surprising things that you find out about yourself.
it
Your
was very disappointing though.
Yes, your palate definitely changes. And I feel like that's
Yes.
one like maybe I guess it's a blessing and a curse. I would
Yes.
say more of a blessing in the sense of you get to like fruit tends to feel sweeter and
Yes.
better. And then when you eat something like a Reese's, it tastes chemical. Like it doesn't even taste
Yes.
good anymore. But I guess the curse of like a favorite, something you had that was like really good and you loved it, and then you're like, oh, it's actually not the same. So I don't
Yes.
know. I guess there's like it's a blessing and a
But
curse.
I mean I think that it's good. I'm
Yeah.
happy. Like, yes, it was kind of disappointing that I was looking forward to this thing for so long and then I finally ate it and I was like, meh.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just think like you said, my palate changed. I think my mindset towards food changed. Like I don't need that cheese on the burger.
Yeah.
And if it's not I mean, rather at this point, I'd rather put guac on a burger. Like that's just
Mm.
where I am. So
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, when did you start seeing weight? Because weight was pretty stubborn. So when did you start seeing weight move?
so I would say, I want to say it was like maybe sometime, it was pretty quickly. It was like I was still doing the gut protocol. So I think it was like maybe like my original week 3. Um, yeah, I think it was because it was around the end of June. I was going away on a girls' trip and I had to get some new clothes. So I lost like 10 pounds instantly, which,
Nice.
talking to Madison, a lot of that was probably inflammation, water weight.
Yep.
I didn't lose 10 pounds of fat right
Right.
away.
Yep.
Um, and then after that, I would say like it was pretty consistently like maybe like a pound, pound and a half a week for a while. And then, right around the time I was ending, so about 4 months in, it definitely slowed down. So like I'm still losing weight, but it's more like, a half pound
Slower.
every couple of weeks.
For sure.
But I'm like, I've lost 29 pounds since June 2nd, which is
Yay.
crazy.
Ah,
Crazy.
I love it.
Yes.
But I mean, that's definitely the expectation. I'd say that's pretty normal. And I don't even think, looking at your chart, you didn't even really hit any plateaus, which is also a little unique because usually we see a little bit more of a like roller coaster.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that you like just reflecting back to all the things you've tried, which were all like relatively good things, and you still couldn't lose weight. So it
Yes.
is so interesting that like it went from, and I love this, more so shifting from weight, but shifting to like healing from within, and then just
Yes.
allowing weight to happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
Versus, I don't know. I do see a trend, which is kind of hard to verbalize because it sounds like just don't stress and you'll lose weight. No, it's not just that, but it's the people that are very like weight, so weight focused, and they might be like weighing themselves every day or whatnot, they are definitely the hardest to lose
Yes.
weight. And the moment, again, you just kind of say, weight loss I want, of course, but I'm just gonna let it happen when it happens. And then
Yes.
like, let's just focus in on internal stuff. Dude, like I feel like the journey is so much more enjoyable and like nicer and like results are easier. I don't know if it's because there's less stress about it. I don't know if it's just because you're focusing on the internal stuff that you should have been focusing on all along, because weight is just like a symptom of,
Right.
holding on to inflammation and water weight and of course like storing body fat. So that's so interesting. But I have loved watching your weight loss journey. What out of all the labs, which one probably was your favorite?
I mean, it's funny to say this is my favorite. I would definitely say the stool test. I mean, not the actual like collection of the stool
Yeah,
test, because that was kind of a disaster. But
it
just
was.
oh yeah, like the thing you're supposed to put across the toilet, like the adhesive, like slipped on one side.
Mine too.
Yes. So thank God I had
Yes.
gloves on, which is what I had to say because I basically was like manhandling it and like trying to scoop it in with a tiny little thing, which is probably too much information for anyone.
No, no. Oh
But
my gosh. Anyone that's
um
done a stool test, they understand.
yes. I think for me, so one of the things I would talk to my doctor, talk to anyone about is that I was doing quote unquote the right things, but they were not the right things for my body, obviously, right? I was eating like a giant salad for lunch every day. And one of the things I discovered through this whole process is that like my body doesn't love raw vegetables.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's just this idea of what a good diet looks like or what good health looks like. And I just kept saying, like, these obviously are not the right things for my body. Like,
Yeah.
however I'm eating, even though you're telling me it's XYZ, the right thing to do, my body isn't happy with it. So
Yeah.
I think that just, having that information and being able to figure out like exactly what it was that my
Yes.
body was telling us that it wanted, was great. I mean, I would manhandle my own poop like 100 times over for that information. So
I love that. No, mine did the same thing. So I feel
yes.
for you. I tend to always have them on hand anyways. And I don't use them a lot, but I ended up using like one of those cake pans that you
Yeah.
like cake. And so I sit on that because it kind of covers the whole, you have to
Oh,
pee
that's
first,
pretty smart.
but yeah, it covers the whole thing. So I could also relax because I was nervous of like, what if my aim is bad? What if
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it's like catches a little bit, but then I don't know, you had a bigger stool than you like
Yes.
thought you would. And then like
Yeah.
then it's just a disaster because you're like, oh, I have to do this again. Because you have to mentally kind of get there when you do the test. Like
Yes.
today's the day, I'm doing it. We're doing this thing. So if just for the future, just
All
get one
right.
of
Good
those
to
cake
know. Next
pans.
time, get a cake pan.
And then that
Done.
way you don't have to worry about it. What I'm curious, what did your doctor say? Like, just as she's seen like just results and changes with you, has she said anything of, I don't know.
I think I got a little bit more credibility with her,
Love
honestly.
that.
So my A1C, I told you it was a 6.0. So I had my physical in August. It was down to a 5.7. At my
Nice.
request, she just retested it. I just went in this week. It's down to a 5.4.
Ah,
So, I think that she has a better understanding of like really who I am. Because I know like when I was finishing up with Madison, I was looking at like what supplements should I be taking and for a bunch of reasons we decided like maybe the micronutrient test wasn't completely needed, but
yeah.
what information would Madison want to have? So I went into her with a list of like 15, like test my vitamin K, my vitamin, this, that, the other. And she was willing to order all of them, which I think was great.
Wow.
She did say, like, I don't know if your insurance is going to cover this. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But considering she wouldn't even order an A1C, and she was like, I don't know how to read any of these. I'm like, that's okay. I don't need you to read them. I just need you to order them so that I don't have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
So that I feel like that was a huge shift, which is, why I'll probably stick with her at this point, even though I wish that our relationship had started differently. Like
But you
I,
gained that cred,
I wore her down. Well, and I put in the work. I mean,
yeah.
when I went in to have my physical, I was down 23 pounds in like 3 months,
Was she
right?
like, what did you do?
Well, no, she knew what I did because I told
Okay.
her what I was going to do, because she very honestly said to me, I don't know how to help you. She's like, from my perspective, you're healthy, is what she said to me. She's like, there are no more tests for me to run. She's like, our bodies just have these set points where, our bodies tell us what they want to weigh, and your body is just telling you that this is how much it wants you to weigh. And I was like, I can't accept that because I don't enjoy hiking and I can't run. And like, there's
Yeah.
no way this is where my body wants to be. And so she said, you might want to consider a functional provider, because she just was like, I don't
I mean,
have anything else to offer you, basically, is what she had to say.
kind of mad respect for her, like admitting that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would rather have someone respond that way. Because I think that there's obviously a lot of like ego, honestly, and it could be in functional and conventional, but especially in conventional, because they typically don't believe in the healing of food. Like they know it's a part of it, but like so many times they'll be like, oh, you have colitis. It doesn't matter what you eat. Like you'd be surprised
Yes.
at the stuff I hear. And so I don't know, just to kind of like lay it down of like, I feel like I've done everything I could do. And so I
Yes.
think you're good. Obviously you don't have to settle there, and you didn't, and you did your own thing. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate them being like, just, I don't know, I guess honest about it and be like, okay, not just gaslighting you and saying, I
Right.
don't know,
No, I
nothing.
do appreciate that.
So I love that. Well, I so loved getting to know you more and
Yes.
everyone hearing your journey. I appreciate it so much. And thank
Yes.
you for trusting us with
Oh, it
your
was my
health.
pleasure. I just also want to put in a plug. Like, I think that, for menopausal women, I mean, you can use me as a testimonial or whatever. I mean, there's so much conflicting information out there
Yeah.
about how you should or shouldn't eat, what you should or shouldn't do. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think I even asked you, like, okay, but right, have you worked with women who have been through
You
menopause?
have. Yes.
Because I mean, you are all lovely, but I think biologically, I could probably be everyone's mother, maybe not yours, but for sure I could be Madison's mom. And so it's really hard. It's really,
Madison gets mistaken, by the way, for being so young that she's actually had people ask her if she's graduated high school.
oh, wow, that
And I'm
doesn't
like,
surprise me.
she's not, but her voice, her sweet voice.
Yes. Um,
So she's definitely seems super
yeah.
young.
So I was nervous. I was really nervous about it. And I just think that your program and what you have to offer, it helped me so much, being postmenopausal, where like really I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I was skeptical. But any woman who is struggling with menopause, whether it's weight gain or the other symptoms, you know, they should come to you
Oh,
100%. I mean,
thank you.
I want to say that because I mean, not to take up too much more of your time, but
No, you're good.
you said menopause is probably the biggest hormonal shift. Or having been through puberty, having been through pregnancy, and having been through menopause, I can tell you that it's traumatic. And maybe it isn't that way for everyone, but it really is.
Yeah.
And you guys help me feel like myself again. I mean, an older version of myself. I'm still a menopausal woman, but it, like, honestly, like, I think I'm as close to feeling like myself as I could be. So anyone who comes to you and is like, yeah, but do you do menopause? Like, the answer is like, yes, you do.
Yes, yes, we do. Because we do understand the biology of like how the body works. But I mean, that's definitely an understanding statement of like, yeah, you guys are so young. We've definitely got that before. Also it's just other things too. So I appreciate you saying
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
our goal is to have you feeling like 25 inside. And
Yeah.
even though you're aging on the outside, like inside, you're still, awesome and young.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you again. I so appreciate what you put out into the world, and it was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
working with you guys.
Thank you, Amy.